Ciao Bella! Welcome back to Reading with Bella. I'm Bella from Bella Uncinetto, and we are going to work on finishing Jabberwocky. It has been a long time since I have read any of this to you, but if you're just watching through the playlist and you hear it all, then of course you'll hear it played straight through. So this was a book I got a long time ago from a work trip actually in New Orleans, and we went to the Faulkner House bookstore right here, and it was a place where William Faulkner once stayed, and I picked up this copy of Jabberwocky. So I've been reading it, and I stopped for a while, but there's only 2 sections left, so I thought that I would finish it with you as sort of some bonus episodes for the summer. I don't know exactly when these are going to come out. I haven't scheduled that just yet, but I am going to put them out as a bonus episode on either a Saturday or a Sunday, just to kind of um, spend some time with you all. So if you want to do some chores, if you want to grab a project, grab a cup of coffee or tea, um, put me on like you would an audiobook while you're driving, whatever you want to do, we will continue on. So this is Sylvie and Bruno and Sylvie and Bruno concluded. Those are the 2 sections I'm going to read today. Sylvie and Bruno. Who sins in hope, who sinning says. Who sins in hope, who sinning says. Sorrow for sin, God's judgment stays. Against God's spirit he lies, quiet stops. Mercy with insult dares and drops, like scorched fly that spins in vain upon the axis of its pain, then takes its doom to limp and crawl, blind and forgot, from fall to fall. The next one is all our life then but a dream? Is all our life then but a dream, seen faintly in the golden gleam, athwart time's dark resistless stream, bowed to the earth with bitter woe, or laughing at some raree show, we flutter idly to and fro. Man's little day in haste we spend, and from its merry noontide send no glance to meet the silent end. A Beggar's Palace. From sackcloth couch the monk arose, with toil his stiffened limbs he reared. 100 years had flung their snows on thin locks and floating beard. The Gardener's Song. He thought he saw an elephant that practiced on a fife. He looked again and found it was a letter from his wife. At length I realize, he said, the bitterness of life. He thought he saw a buffalo upon the chimney piece. He looked again and found it was his sister's husband's niece. Unless you leave this house, he said, I'll send for the police. He thought he saw a rattlesnake that questioned him in Greek. He looked again and found it was the middle of next week. The one thing I regret, he said, is that it cannot speak. He thought he saw a banker's clerk descending from the bus. He looked again and found it was a hippopotamus. If this should stay to dine, he said, there won't be much for us. He thought he saw a kangaroo that worked a coffee mill. He looked again and found it was a vegetable pill. Were I to swallow this, he said, I should be very ill. He thought he saw a coach and four that stood beside his bed. He looked again and found it was a bear without a head. Poor thing, he said, poor silly thing, it's waiting to be fed. He thought he saw an albatross that fluttered round the lamp. He looked again and found it was a penny postage stamp. You'd best be getting home, he said, the nights are very damp. He thought he saw a garden door that opened with a key. He looked again and found it was a double rule of 3. And all its mystery, he said, is clear as day to me. He thought he saw an argument that proved he was the Pope. He looked again and found it was a bar of mottled soap. A fact so dread, he faintly said, extinguishes all hope. The Old Man's Incantation. Let craft, ambition, spite be quenched in reason's night, till weakness turn to might, till what is dark be light, till what is wrong be right. Peter and Paul. Peter is poor, said noble Paul, and I have always been his friend. And though my means to give are small, at least I can afford to lend. How few in this cold age of greed do good except on selfish grounds, but I can feel for Peter's need, and I will lend him £50. How great was Peter's joy to find his friend in such a genial vein! How cheerfully the bond he signed, to pay back the money again. We can't, said Paul, to be precise. 'Tis best to fix the very day. So, by a learned friend's advice, I've made it noon, the 4th of May. But this is April, Peter said, the 1st of April, as I think. 5 little weeks will soon be fled, one scarcely will have time to wink. Give me a year to speculate, to buy and sell, to drive a trade. Said Paul, I cannot change the date, on May the 4th it must be paid. Well, well, said Peter with a sigh, hand me the cash and I will go. I'll form a joint stock company, and turn an honest £1 or so. I'm grieved, said Paul, to seem unkind, the money shall of course be lent. Before a week or two, I find, it will not be convenient. So week by week poor Peter came, and turned in heaviness away, for still the answer was the same, I cannot manage it today. And now the April showers were dry, the 5 short weeks were nearly spent. Yet still he got the old reply, it's not quite convenient. The 4th arrived, and punctual Paul came with his legal friend at noon. I thought it best, he said, to call, one cannot settle things too soon. Poor Peter shuddered in despair. His flowing locks he wildly tore, and very soon his yellow hair was lying all about the floor. The legal friend was standing by, with sudden pity half unmanned. The teardrop trembled in his eye, the signed agreement in his hand. But when at length the legal soul resumed its customary force, the law, he said, we can't control. Pay, or the law must take its course. Said Paul, how bitterly I rue that fatal morning when I called. Consider, Peter, what you do. You won't be richer when you're bald. Think you, by rendering curls away, to make your difficulties less? Forbear this violence, I pray. You do but add to my distress. Not willingly would I inflict, said Peter, on that noble heart one needless pang. Yet why so strict in this act? Is this to act a friendly part? However legal it may be, to pay what never has been lent, the style of business seems to me extremely inconvenient. No nobleness of soul have I, like some in this age are found. Paul blushed in sheer humility, and cast his eyes upon the ground. This debt will simply swallow all, and make my life a life of woe. Nay, nay, my Peter, answered Paul, you must not rail on fortune so. You have enough to eat and drink, you are respected in the world, and at the barber's, as I think, you often get your whiskers curled. Though nobleness you can't attain to any very great extent, the path of honesty is plain, however inconvenient. 'Tis true, said Peter, I'm alive, I keep my station in the world. Once in the week I just contrive to get my whiskers oiled and curled. But my assets are very low, my little income's overspent. To trench on capital, you know, is always inconvenient. But pay your debts, cried honest Paul, my gentle Peter, pay your debts. What matter if it swallows all that you describe as your assets? Already you're an hour behind, yet generosity is best. It pinches me, but never mind, I will not charge you interest. How good, how great, poor Peter cried, yet I must sell my Sunday wig, the scarf pin that has been my pride, my grand piano, and my pig. Full soon his property took wings, and daily as each treasure went, he sighed to find the state of things grow less and less convenient. Weeks grew to months, and months to years. Peter was worn to skin and bone, and once he even said with tears, remember, Paul, that promised loan. Said Paul, I'll lend you when I can all the spare money I have got. Ah, Peter, you're a happy man. Yours is an enviable lot. I'm getting stout, as you may see. It is but seldom I am well. I cannot feel my ancient glee in listening to the dinner bell. But you gambol like a boy. Your figure is so spare and light. The dinner bell's a note of joy to such a healthy appetite. Said Peter, I'm well aware mine is a state of happiness, and yet how gladly could I spare some of the comforts I possess. What you call healthy appetite, I feel as hunger's savage tooth, and when no dinner is in sight, the dinner bell's a sound of ruth. No scarecrow would accept this coat, such boots as these you seldom see. Ah, Paul, a single £5 note would make another man of me. Said Paul, it fills me with surprise to hear you talk in such a tone. I fear you scarcely realize the blessings that are all your own. You're safe from being overfed, you're sweetly picturesque in rags. You never know the aching head that comes along with money bags. And you have time to cultivate that best of qualities, content, for which you'll find your present state remarkably convenient. Said Peter, though I cannot sound the depths of such a man as you, yet in your character I found an inconsistency or two. You seem to have long years to spare when there's a promise to fulfill, and yet how punctual you were in calling with that little bill. One cannot be too deliberate, said Paul, in parting with one's pelf. With bills, as you correctly state, I'm punctuality itself. A man may surely claim his dues, but when there's money to be lent, a man must be allowed to choose such times as are convenient. It chanced one day, as Peter sat gnawing on a crust, his usual meal, Paul bustled in to have a chat, and grasped his hand with friendly zeal. I knew, he said, your frugal ways, so that I might not wound your pride by bringing strangers in to graze, I've left my legal friend outside. You well remember, I am sure, when first your wealth began to go, and people sneered at one so poor, I never used my Peter so. And when you'd lost your little all, and found yourself a thing despised, I need not ask you to recall how tenderly I sympathized. Then the advice I poured on you, so full of wisdom and of wit, all given gratis, though 'tis true, I might have fairly charged for it. But I refrain from mentioning full many a deed I might relate, for boasting is a kind of thing that I particularly hate. How vast the total sum appears of all the kindness I've done, from childhood's half-forgotten years down to the loan of April 1. That £50, you little guessed how deeply it drained my slender store. But here's a heart within its beast, and I will lend you 50 more. Not so, was Peter's mild reply, his cheeks all wet with grateful tears. No man recalls so well as I your services in bygone years. And this new offer, I admit, is very kindly meant, so still to avail myself of it would not be quite convenient. I wonder why. He either fears his fate too much. Or his desert is small. Who dares not put it to the touch, to win or lose it all. Fairies Song. Rise, oh rise, the daylight dies, the owls are hooting, ting, ting, ting. Wake, oh wake, beside the lake, the elves are fluting, ting, ting, ting. Welcoming our fairy king, we sing, sing, sing. Hear, oh hear, from far and near, the music stealing, ting, ting, ting. Fairy bells adown the dells, and merrily pealing, ting, ting, ting. Welcoming our fairy king, we ring, ring, ring. See, oh see, on every tree what lamps are shining, ting, ting, ting. They are eyes of fireflies, to light our dining, ting, ting, ting. Welcoming our fairy king, they swing, swing, swing. Haste, oh haste, to take and taste the dainties waiting, ting, ting, ting. Honey-dew stored. That was the end. The Three Badgers. There be 3 badgers on a mossy stone beside a dark and covered way. Each dreams himself a monarch on his throne, and so they stay and stay. Though their old father languishes alone, they stay and stay and stay. There be 3 herrings loitering around, longing to share that mossy seat. Each herring tries to sing what she has found, that makes life seem so sweet. Thus with a grating and uncertain sound, they bleat and bleat and bleat. The mother herring on a salt sea wave sought vainly for her absent ones. The father badger, writhing in a cave, shrieked out, "Return, my sons! You shall have buns," he shrieked, "if you behave. Yea, buns, buns, and buns." "I fear," she said, "your sons have gone astray. My daughters left me while I slept." "Yes'm," the badger said, "it's as you say, they should be better kept." Thus the poor parents talked the time away, and wept and wept and wept. "Oh dear, beyond our dearest dreams, fairer than all the fairest seems, to feast the rosy hours away, to revel in a roundelay. How blessed we would be, a life so free, Ipwergis pudding to consume, and drink the subtle azagoom, if in other days and hours, mid other fluffs and other flowers, the choice were given me how to dine. Name what thou wilt, it shall be thine. Oh, then I see the life for me, Ipwigger's pudding, and to consume, and to drink the subtle azagoom." The badgers did not care to talk to fish, they did not dote on herring songs, they never had experienced the dish to which the name belongs. And oh, to pinch their tails, this was their wish, with tongs, yea, tongs and tongs. And are not these fish, the eldest sighed, whose mother dwells beneath the foam? They are the fish, the second one replied, and they have left their home. O wicked fish, the youngest badger cried, to roam, yea, roam and roam. Gently the badgers trotted to shore, the sandy shore that fringed the bay. Each in his mouth a living herring bore, those aged ones waxed gay. Clear rang their voices through the ocean's roar, hooray, hooray, hooray! Light come, light go. He stepped so lightly to the land, all in his manly pride. He kissed her cheek and pressed her hand, yet still she glanced aside. Too gay he seems, she darkly dreams, too gallant and too gay, to think of me, poor simple me, when he is far away. I bring my love, this goodly pearl, across the seas, he said, a gem to deck the dearest girl that ever sailor wed. She clasps it tight, her eyes are bright, her throbbing heart would say, he thought of me, when he was far away. The ship has sailed into the west, her ocean bird is flown. A dull dead pain is in her breast, and she is weak and lone. Yet there's a smile upon her face, a smile that seems to say, he'll think of me, when he's far away. Though waters wide between us glide, our lives are warm and near, no distant parts to faithful hearts, to hearts that love so dear. And I will trust my sailor lad for ever and a day, to think of me, when he is far away. So that was Sylvie and Bruno. This is Sylvie and Bruno concluded. And we have a little bit more. Let me get the bookmark and put it where we need to stop so that I remember. So this is Dreams that elude the maker's frenzied grasp. Dreams that elude the frenzied... Nope, start over. Dreams that elude the maker's frenzied grasp. Hands stark and still on a dead mother's breast, which never more shall render clasp for clasp, or deftly soothe the weeping child to rest. And such like forms me listeth to portray, my tale here ended. Thou delicious Fay, the guardian of a sprite that lives to tease thee, loving in earnest, chiding but in play, the merry mocking Bruno. Who that sees thee can fail to love thee, darling, even as I, my sweetest Sylvie, we must say goodbye. Kingfisher courted ladybird. Kingfisher courted ladybird. Sing beans, sing bones, sing butterflies. Find me my match, he said, with such a noble head, with such a beard as white as curd, with such expressive eyes. Yet pins have heads, said ladybird. Sing prunes, sing prawns, sing primrose hill. And where you stick them in, they stay, and thus a pin is very much to be preferred to one that's never still. Oysters have beards, said ladybird. Sing flies, sing frogs, sing fiddle strings. I love them, for I know they never chatter so. They would not say one single word, not if you crown them kings. Needles have eyes, said ladybird. Sing cat, sing cork, sing cowslip tea. And they are sharp, just what your majesty is not. So get you gone, 'tis too absurd to come a-courting me. Streaks of dawn. Take, O boatman, thrice thy fee. Take, I give it willingly, for invisible to thee, spirits twain have crossed with me. Matilda Jane. Matilda Jane, you never look at any toy or picture book. I show you pretty things in vain. You must be blind, Matilda Jane. I ask you riddles, tell you tales, but all your conversation fails. You never answer me again. I fear you're dumb, Matilda Jane. That's not very kind. Matilda, darling, when I call, you never seem to hear at all. I shout with all my might and main, but you're so deaf, Matilda Jane. Matilda Jane, you needn't mind, for though you're deaf and dumb and blind, there's someone loves you, it is plain, and that is me, Matilda Jane. You know, I don't think I would love someone who called me deaf and blind and dumb. That would not be nice. The Revellers Song. 'Tis him and yo and me, roaring laddies, we love a bit of spree, roaring laddies, we, roaring laddies, we, roaring laddies. That was definitely not done well. I don't have that kind of accent. What Tottles meant. 1,000 pounds per annum is not so bad a figure, come, cried Tottles. And I tell you flat, a man may marry well on that. To say the husband needs the wife is not the way to represent it. The crowning joy of women's life is man, said Tottles, and he meant it. The blissful honeymoon is past, the pair have settled down at last. Mamma-in-law their home will share, and make their happiness her care. Your income's an ample one, go it, my children, and they went it. I rather think this kind of fun won't last, said Tottles, and he meant it. They took a little country box, a box at Covent Garden also. They lived a life of double knocks, acquaintances began to call so. Their London house was much the same, it took 300 clear to rent it. Life's a very jolly game, cried happy Tottles, and he meant it. Contented with a frugal lot, he always used that phrase at Gunter's. He bought a handy little yacht, a dozen serviceable hunters, the fishing of a Highland loch, a sailing boat to circumvent it. The sounding of the Gaelic och beats me, said Tottles, and he meant it. But oh, the worst of human ills, poor Tottles found, are little bills, and with no balance in the bank, what wonder that his spirits sank? Still, as the money flowed away, he wondered how on earth she spent it. You cost me £20 a day, at least, cried Tottles, and he meant it. She sighed, those drawing rooms, you know, I never really thought about it. Mamma declared we ought to go. We should be nobodies without it. That diamond circlet for my brow, I quite believed that she had sent it, until the bill came in just now. Viper, cried Tottles, and he meant it. Poor Mrs. T could bear no more, but fainted flat upon the floor. Mamma-in-law, with anguish wild, seeks all in vain to rouse her child. Quick, take this box of smelling salts. Don't scold her, James, or you'll repent it. She's a dear girl with all her faults. She is, groaned Tottles, and he meant it. I was a donkey, Tottles cried, to choose your daughter for my bride. 'Twas you that bid us cut a dash. 'Tis you have brought us to this smash. You don't suggest one single thing that can any way prevent it. Then what's the use of arguing? Shut up, cried Tottles, and he meant it. And now the mischief's done, perhaps you'll kindly go and pack your traps. Since 2, your daughter and your son, are company, but 3 are none. A course of saving we'll begin. When change is needing, I'll invent it. Don't think to put your finger in this pie, cried Tottles, and he meant it. See, now this couple settled down in quiet lodgings out of town. Submissively the tearful wife accepts a plain and humble life, yet begs one boon on bended knee. My ducky darling, don't resent it. Mamma might come for 2 or 3. Never, yelled Tottles, and he meant it. The Earl's Poem. We doubt not that, for one so true, there must be other nobler work to do, that when he found at Waterloo, and victor must he ever be. In stature the manlet was dwarfish. No burly big blunder bore he, and he wearily gazed on the crawfish, his wifelet was dressed for his tea. Now reach me, sweet Adam, my gunlet, and hurl the old shoelet for luck. Let me hie to the bank of the runlet, and shoe thee a duck. She had reached him his minikin gunlet. She had hurled the old shoelet for luck. She is busily baking a bunlet to welcome him home with his duck. On he speeds, never wasting a wordlet, though thoughtlets cling closely as wax to the spot where the beautiful birdlet so quietly quacks, where the lobsterlet lurks, and the crablet so slowly and sleepily crawls, where the dolphin's at home and the dablet pays long ceremonious calls, where the grublet is sought by the froglet, where the frog is pursued by the duck, where the ducklet is chased by the doglet. So runs the world's luck. He has loaded with bullet and powder. His footfall is noiseless as air, but the voices grow louder and louder, and bellow and bluster and blare. They bristle before him and after. They flutter above and below. Shrill shriekings of lubberly laughter, weird wailings of woe. They echo without him, within him. They thrill through his whiskers and beard, like teetotum seeming to spin him, with sneers never hitherto sneered. Avengement they cry for our foelet. Let the mannikin weep for our wrongs. Let us drench him from toplet to toelet with nursery songs. He shall muse upon hey diddle diddle, on the cow that surmounted the moon. He shall rave at the cat and the fiddle, and the dish that eloped with the spoon. And his soul shall be sad for the spider, when Miss Muffet was sipping her whey, that so tenderly sat down beside her, and scared her away. The music of midsummer madness shall sting him with many a bite, till in rapture of rollicking sadness he shall groan with a gloomy delight. He shall swathe him like mists of the morning in platitudes luscious and limp, such as deck with a deathless adorning the song of the shrimp. When the ducklet's dark doom is decided, we will trundle him home in a trice, and the banquet so plainly provided shall round into rosebuds and rice. In a blaze of pragmatic invention he shall wrestle with fate and shall reign, but he is not a friend to fit to mention, so hit him again. He has shot it, the delicate darling, and the voices have ceased from their strife. Not a whisper of sneering or snarling, as he carries it home to his wife. Then cheerily champing the bunlet, his spouse was so skilful to bake, he hies him once more to the runlet, to fetch her the drake. A Fairy Duet. Say, what is the spell when her fledglings are cheeping, that lures the bird home to her nest, or wakes the tired mother whose infant is weeping, to cuddle and croon into rest? What's the magic that charms the glad babe in her arms, till it coos with the voice of a dove? 'Tis secret, and so let us whisper it low, and the name of the secret is love. For I think it is love, for I feel it is love, for I'm sure it is nothing but love. Say, whence is that voice, when anger is burning, bids the whirl of the tempest to cease, that stirs the vexed soul with an aching a yearning for the brotherly hand-grip of peace? Whence the music that fills all our being, that trills around us, beneath us, and above? 'Tis a secret, no one knows how it comes, how it goes, but the name of the secret is love. For I think it is love, for I feel it is love, for I'm sure it is nothing but love. Say, who is the skill that paints valley and hill, like a picture so fair to the sight, that flecks the green meadow with sunshine and shadow, till the little lambs leap with delight? 'Tis a secret untold to hearts cruel and cold, though 'tis sung by angels above. The note that is ringing for clear, in notes that ring clear for the ears that can hear, and the name of the secret is love. For I think it is love, for I feel it is love, for I'm sure it's nothing but love. The Pigtail. Little birds are dining warily and well, hid in mossy cell. Hid, I say, by waiters, gorgeous in their gaiters. I have a tale to tell. Little birds are feeding justices with jam, rich in frizzled ham. Rich, I say, in oysters, haunting shady cloisters. That is what I am. Little birds are teaching tigresses to smile, innocence of guile. Smile, I say, not smirkle. Mouth with a semicircle, that's the proper style. Little birds are sleeping among all the pins, where the loser wins, where I say he sneezes when and how he pleases. So the tale begins. There was a pig that sat alone beside a ruined pump. By day and night he made his moan. It would have turned a heart to stone to see him wring his hoofs and groan, because he could not jump. A certain camel heard him shout, a camel with a hump. Oh, is it grief or is it gout? What is this bellowing about? The pig replied with a quivering snout, because I cannot jump. The camel scanned him, dreamy-eyed. Methinks you are too plump. I never knew a pig so wide, that wobbled so from side to side, who could, however much he tried, do such a thing as jump. Yet mark those trees 2 miles away, all clustered in a clump. If you could trot there twice a day, not ever pause for rest or play, in far future who can say, you may be fit to jump. The camel passed and left him there beside the ruined pump. Oh, horrid was the pig's despair. His shrieks of anguish filled the air. He wrung his hoofs, he rent his hair, because he could not jump. There was a frog that wandered by, a sleek and shining lump, inspected him with fishy eye, and said, O pig, what makes you cry? And bitter was the pig's reply, because I cannot jump. That frog he grinned a grin of glee, and hit his chest a thump. O pig, he said, be ruled by me, and you shall see what you shall see. This minute, for a trifling fee, I'll teach you how to jump. You may be faint from many a fall, and bruised by many a bump, but if you persevere through all, and practice first on something small, concluding with a 10-foot wall, you'll find that you can jump. That pig looked up with joyful start. O frog, you are a trump. Your words have healed my inward smart. Come, name your fee and do your part. Bring comfort to a broken heart by teaching me to jump. My fee shall be mutton chop, my goal this ruined pump. Observe with what an airy flop I plan myself up to the top. Now bend your knees and take a hop. for that's the way to jump. Up rose the pig and rushed full whack against the ruined pump, rolled over like an empty sack, and settled down upon his back, while all his bones at once went crack. It was a fatal jump. Little birds are writing interesting books to be read by cooks. Read, I say, not roasted. Letterpress, when toasted, loses its good looks. Little birds are playing bagpipes on the shore, where the tourists snore. Thanks, they cry, 'tis thrilling. Take, oh take the shilling, let us have no more. Little birds are bathing crocodiles in cream like a happy dream. Like but not so lasting, crocodiles when fasting are not all they seem. The that camel passed as day grew dim around the ruined pump. O broken heart, O broken limb, it needs, that camel said to him, something more fairy-like and slim to execute a jump. That pig lay as still as stone, and could not stir a stump, nor ever, if the truth were known, was he again observed to moan, nor ever wring his hoofs and groan, because he could not jump. That frog made no remark, for he was as dismal as a dump. He knew the consequence must be that he would never get his fee, and still he sits in misery upon that ruined pump. Little birds are choking baronets with bun, taught to fire a gun, taught, I say, to splinter salmon in the winter, merely for the fun. Little birds are hiding crimes in carpet bags, blessed by happy stags, blessed, I say, though beaten, since our friends are eaten when the memory flags. Little birds are tasting gratitude and gold, pale with sudden cold, pale, I say, and wrinkled, but the bells have tinkled, and the tale is told. And that is the end of Sylvie and Bruno and Sylvie and Bruno Concluded. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I hope that you have folded your laundry or crocheted a few rows or knitted a few rows or spun some fiber or whatever it is you were doing while we were reading together. And until I see you again, be well, be safe, and be the change you wish to see in the world, everyone. Ciao bella!